Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And it brings me great pleasure to introduce a powerful woman to you. Her name is Shirley Murphy, and she hails from Nigeria. Shirley is a publisher of global labor events and business magazine, fondly known as GLEBM, an online independent specialized publication. She is a TV show host, a media consultant, an international speaker. She is also the CEO of Dani's Clothing and More, a woman fashions and fabric house. She has authored many books. She is a 6-time international best-selling author. She is the founder and global president of World Humanitarian Leaders Movement and Women Reach Out with God Initiative, WROWGI. So it brings me great pleasure to introduce to you Shirley Murphy. Welcome, Shirley.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Enelia, for having me on your show. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor for me. And we've known each other for a while, and I've had my eyes on you to have that conversation and to talk to you. And what I would love to do is for us to get started with just sharing a little bit about how you arrived at coming to be that businesswoman. Why business? Why is business such a passion for you?
All right. Thank you so very much for asking. My story started way back. And then I may also want to take my mind back to my teenage age when I was still in secondary school. I remember that my mom has ever been this, women are always entrepreneurial. So my mom was, that kind of woman, and she is still that, busy, always getting her hands on business here and there. So of course, I know I tapped that from her. And I remember before, immediately I finished secondary school, I've always had this, mindset or this aspiration about getting business, going to business and all of that. In fact, as at that time, I was telling myself immediately I finished school, I want to own a hairdressing salon. I want to do a lot of things, even without any experience. I was young. So, but when I started, when I finished school, actually, I started a little business then that was trending back then at home, the business of making beans cake. They call it akara in Nigeria, beans cake. It was, very trending business as at that time, really lucrative. So I remember I was able to gather some money together and I started that. So but later on, I left home, went into like like they would say in those days, looking for greener pastures. I went home, I left home, I went into another state in Lagos. And then from there, I went into school. So, but actually my story started when I found a path in media back in 2014. I started a specialized magazine for employers. But before this time, I had already graduated and started working in the media sector, in the print media actually, as a journalist reporting for the labor sector. So, and I know I was so dedicated and committed to the work I was doing. It was a private sector, so I literally became the face of the magazine in the sector. So, but over time, there was some challenges, and I had to just, pull out. Although the employers at that time wasn't very pleased, but I had to stop because I was going through a lot, risking a lot, to get the magazine standing. And from there, I joined other newspapers And then one day I just told myself, because I remember when I was back in university, I had told myself that I want to own a media house. So my husband just reminded me, I said, this was what you said when we met, that you have a dream to own a media house. So why are you not starting something? I said, okay, all right, I think this is the time. So that was how I started. It was based on struggles, I would say, a lot of struggles, but I just thank God for his grace that I was able to pull through. And then, like I tell people all the time, our lives are like a book. And as you read through each page, the next page, will actually, come forth. So that was how I started my journey. And as I kept moving on the direction that God has given me, other pages of my life, kept opening. And that was how I, brought about other areas of my life, about the business that I'm doing, other businesses that I'm doing. And then, of course, into writing, because of course, I've ever been about writing. Even while back when I was very little, I was always about writing. I write, a lot. So that's how everything, just start opening. And then here I am.
Wow, that's amazing. And as an author that you are, tell us a little bit about the types of books that you write about. So being an author myself, right? Because I only have a handful of books and I'm definitely not a bestseller. I hope to be. But one of the things I know about writing is that when I get really into the writing, it's almost like the story tells you what to write, you know? And for me, it's just like, okay, what do I see? What do I taste? What I like? What do I touch? What do I smell? And like, I know all of these senses are coming in, and then I write, and I try to write so that I can take people there so that they can feel what I'm feeling. And I'm just telling a story. I've never written fiction. I've always written about what's going on in my life. But tell us a little bit about how your writing comes together.
Well, I would say back when I started writing, I had the passion for writing back in secondary school. I would just sit and this inspiration about, well, I write literally about anything, sometimes about nature, about, whatsoever picked, my fancy.
Right.
It will just, keep pouring out. So I write fictions, I write non-fictions, actually. So, and I remember then there was a time in school they asked us to write a certain story, and I wrote mine. Funny enough, after submitting our script to the teacher, she marked and returned everybody's scripts. But mine, she held it back, and I had to, go to meet her in her office and say, ma'am, I didn't get my script back. And she said, no, I held it, intentionally because I want to find out where you got the story, who wrote it for you, all of that. And I told her I wrote it myself. I said, no, that's not true. That's not possible at your age. The storyline, it was so touching, she could feel it. She could,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, no, I don't believe you. Go and get, if you're the one that wrote it, at least you must have started writing it somewhere. You have a manuscript, a rough sheet somewhere. Go and bring it for me to see. And I went home, I came back, I brought it, and I showed it to her, and she read through everything, and she said, wow, keep it up. I could actually literally feel your story as if it actually happened. Did it happen? I said, no, yeah, it has never happened. I just, sit down and, it was just flowing through me. And that's how I write. Sometimes I just get, like the books I've written has been faith-based, actually. The Holy Spirit gives me a topic, and once the topic is there, the storyline would just, it just be like, something is pouring in, telling me what to write and all of that. So that's how, my writing is all about. once I have a topic, that's it. And of course, even in my speaking as well, once I have a topic, every other thing, it's just God, actually. I will not, want to say that it's me. People have different patterns and different ways at which they write and tell a story. But mine has just been the leadings of the Holy Spirit, I would say, because I know it's not me. Because so many times I'll just sit down and I will begin to wonder, how did it come about? It's just God. So I return all glory to him. I've been moved by my writing through the leadings and the instructions.
This is
words from the Holy Spirit, yes.
Yes, this is really, really important too, because that teacher could have made or broken your whole flow. And I think that that's what happened to me. I had a teacher who told me, it actually wasn't even a teacher, it was a guidance counselor, who told me that my writing was below subpar and that really I needed to take another type of writing class because I didn't excel in English, right? I excelled in math and science, but I didn't excel in English. So it blocked me for a long time. I didn't start writing until about 5 or 10 years ago.
Oh.
Right? Like writing to the point where I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm going to write. And then I ended up with a literary agent who wanted to publish my book. And it blew me away, And I got over that high school, obstacle. And so there you are in secondary school and you had a teacher challenge you and that didn't deter you at all.
No way.
And that's phenomenal.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
actually, in life, and I keep telling myself and calling myself a product of grace, because I've actually grown through a lot of things that would have ordinarily stopped a lot of people from moving. But here I am, still standing. I've faced a whole lot. I've never had a time where I think about stopping. I always have this mindset that, nothing gonna stop me and nothing can stop me. And of course, nothing has ever stopped me because I have been determined to keep moving until I get to the point where God says, yes, this is it. So I think it also has to do with a mindset thing. And of course, I do not also want to say that it has been all by myself. It has been all about God. So.
Yes. And I really understand, and I want our audience to really understand something, when you're supposed to do something, and maybe you can elaborate on this, but when you're supposed to do something, you feel compelled to do something. Like, I really get it when you say that, like, for me, I was God's vessel. And I think that that's why I got over the hump. And maybe it wasn't the writing more so for me, it's speaking. When I speak and I know that God is flowing through me, like I'm the vessel, I stand aside, and what needs to be said is said, and what needs to be stated is stated, however long, whatever stranger, whatever moment that is selected. And these moments, these leaps of faith are God's gift to us. Yes. And so many of us stifle that. We stifle it because we look at the situation, we're like, oh, I can't say anything now, but you're supposed to say something right now. Or I can't do anything now. But what you feel compelled to do, you're supposed to do at that moment. Have you ever felt like that with your writing or with your speaking? Because sometimes it comes through me at times when I go, oh, maybe I shouldn't. And I question myself and I'm like, the feeling's so strong, I must. And it helps me navigate through the situation too.
Absolutely. There's always a time in our lives where we feel like, no, I don't think it's the right time. And I believe that is also as a result of self-belief, self-doubt, as a result of fear. there has been a number of times in my life where God has given me a leading to say something, to do something. But when I look around the circumstances, when I look around and begin to think about what people will say, how people will receive it, a whole lot, all the negativities around, that alone will just keep me and say, no, I don't think it's the right time. No, I don't think it's for me. I don't think, I don't, all the no's, all the maybes, maybe this, maybe that, maybe that. And to a greater extent, I believe this has stopped a lot of us, a lot of people from moving forward, from becoming, from discovering, from unveiling what God has deposited in us from the inside. Because we look around and we begin to see circumstances. And I tell people all the time, when you are seeing yourself and you're not seeing God walking in your life and walking through you, that is the only thing, or that is the only way you will begin to be comfortable in the negativities, be comfortable in the fears, the doubts, and all of that. And of course, I remember I've had myself in that situation as well. When I was, I went into speaking industry, and God would bestow so much, give me a lot of messages to pass out. And I was like, no, I don't think I have what it takes. I don't think, no. I've not gotten a certification. I've not gotten this. God, I don't, from beginning, I've always been a very shy person. Even it's just recently, in fact, sometimes my mom will say, you're not afraid of anybody. I say, it's not like that. I'm still shy, maybe it's inside. I've always been a shy person. And sometimes I don't talk, easily like that. I always try to listen and just be quiet. But sometimes, like I also tell people, and that's also my story, that stars don't hide. You can't hide. So even no matter how I try to hide, I'm always, spotted. And of course, the cost to speak will come forth. So, but before now, I've always been a shy person. I always try to run. I always try to, no, I don't think it's my thing. No, please let me be. I don't want to talk. But I grew over all of that. I grew above all of that. And I begin to see myself, yes, I know I've been chosen from the beginning of the world. The Bible says before we were born, God knew us and called us by name and sent us here for a purpose. So from the moment I began to embrace my purpose and be ready to run with it, to get it actualized, nothing. Anytime you call on me, except there are, maybe busy schedules and all of that, I'm always ready. I want to just encourage people out there and say that no matter what it is, God knew that you have what it takes before he asks you, or before he deposits it, before he, instructs you to say it. You cannot be the one that will tell God what needs to happen in your life. He already knows. So the message, like you shared your story, he puts it in your mouth. And all he wants you to do to open that mouth, and it will flow through you. And if you refuse to open the mouth, he can't actually force you. That's our God. He won't force you. But you need to understand that there are a lot of lives that may be depending on that message that he has given to you. There are a lot of lives that may be depending on that writing that he has ordered you to write. Share your story. Tell people about what you've gone through. Tell people that there is hope, that they can actually get it done. Because the world that we are living with is filled with negativity. There's a lot of things that is wearing people down. So, and God said, we are the lights. We need to bring the message of hope, message of peace. Let people know that, yes, in the midst of darkness, there can always be light. And that's why God placed us here, to become that light, to bring people out of darkness through the messages that he has given to us, either for you to speak with your mouth or speak with your pen, whichever way what God wants you to use it. But all he wants from you is to just open it up, allow him, you know, to radiate that
Yeah.
light through you.
Yes. And you know, I know there's a strength, a deep, deep rooted strength. And as we move and navigate through life with the struggles, and our divine relationship with God helps us to move through the struggles, but there's a foundation that also has to be within us. And it's the trust, but there's more. And if you could observe yourself, what would you say that would be? Because for me, the things that I've learned in life is I've learned not to be afraid of anything, in the respect that I turn my vulnerabilities into my strength. Oh, I know this about you. Yeah, you know this about me. And I'll tell you this, this, and this about me too. So what's your point? You know, you cannot hold that against me. We are not perfect beings. We're not whatever, right? And then that draws from my courageousness, turning my vulnerabilities into my strengths, understanding that I'm worthy. You know, like I belong here, or I'm worth doing this, 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 and this for, and that's why I fight, and that's why I work at it. Or we, if I'm representing others, are worth this, and that's why I'm compelled to do it, whatnot. What is that foundation for you? Because when I work with women's empowerment, this is directly where I like to work, and it's different for everyone. It's slightly different. It's the same, but it's slightly different of where they need to draw from their courageousness. But the number one thing I believe is our relationship with the divine, with God. You know, but what is that for you? Because we all go through adversity in our lives, you know, whether it's a dysfunctional parent or parents, you know, sibling situations. We all go through something. I don't care if you have the best of circumstances and all the materialism around you, or you have the worst of circumstances and no materialism around you. There's always some type of adversity, dysfunction that throws you off the path. And we have to have the wherewithal within us to get right back on.
Yes. Well, for me, yes, I would say that our being here on earth has never been a mistake. God placed us here for a purpose, and that purpose is what every human on earth should discover. When once you discover that what your purpose is and why you are here, I think that's where it begins to make the journey easier. And in saying that, I've also seen a lot of people that have discovered their purpose. They're trying to work on it, or trying to work in it, trying to get things done. And a lot of things are also trying to throw them off track. In whatever that we do as a person, as a woman, as a man, you need to first and foremost know you, know who you are, know what you carry, know the areas of your weakness. Some people don't like to face this fact about themselves, the areas of weakness, because I understand the areas that I have maybe a challenge with, or areas where people can look at me and say, no, I don't like you because of that. I don't like you because of this. I already know it. So before you come forth to me to tell me this area about me that I already know, you can't, use that to make me feel bad or whatever, because I already know it before you come forth, and I'm trying to work on it. So sometimes we don't like to face this fact about us. You can't be perfect. No one of us is perfect. As wonderful as you are, there are some areas of weakness that you may also have. And that's why self-assessment is ever good. In fact, it's important every time on our lives that we go back and do a self-evaluation, assess ourselves and see, how far we have gone. And what is it that stopped us from becoming? What it is that stopped us from getting our goals, actualized? What is it that you need to work on? And once you discover these things and you begin to, work on them. And then again, I talked about purpose. When you discover your purpose, you tie your purpose to the God that has called you. It is not a man that has called you. You did not also call yourself. The things that God has deposited in you to do did not just drop in, from the skies. It dropped in intentionally by God. And he that has called you, you get fixed, you get focused on running the race that he has called you to do. So many times people will not always agree with you because you're doing something that in the eyes of men does not seem, to be possible, does not seem to be working, because there's societal pressure, there's family, there's a lot of factors that could say, no, you are not good at it. In fact, you're not supposed to be the one doing it. Because, for instance, when I started my magazine, I had this challenge, I had this rejection. In fact, I tell people, if you're looking for somebody that has faced heartbreaking rejections in life, talk to Shirley. When I started my magazine, the magazine was about, it was a sectoral magazine for a particular sector. And for those in the media, how difficult it could be to pull through with that kind of magazine where it's not, for everybody and all of that. And then this sector that I went in, of course, this is the sector that I was reporting when I started as a journalist. So it has been that my life was all about this industry, this sector. Although I tried to do a particular magazine on celebrity, no, not on celebrity. The first magazine I did was called Exceptional. That's I was trying to showcase leaders and their stories for people to learn from. And that's what, of course, there's a whole lot of people doing that. So, and God was telling me, no, that's not it, because I only did just one edition of that, and that was where it ended. Until I had to tell myself, no, come, this is where I've ever been in this industry, in this sector. Why don't you, do something in this sector? Now, before I came on board with my magazine, I actually heard rumors about other magazines that has existed and plateaued. Well, I don't know why. Of course, there are a lot of factors around that. And when I come up with mine, I met some mentors, senior colleagues in the industry, in the media industry, actually. I said, this is what I want to do. And they started with, no, Shirley, I don't think you have what it takes. You've not been in the media for many years. And of course, I don't think you have the money, because before you go into this kind of industry, you need to have some millions of naira in your bank account before you think about starting, because it's capital intensive. It runs with money. If you don't have money, don't think about it. And of course, some of them started saying, I did a magazine too. After many years, I could not sustain it. I had to stop. So I don't want you to start something and not complete it. I said, well, that was, threatening enough to tell me, Shirley, of course, I don't have money. So why do I want to start something without money? And then again, I still, persisted. I went through it. I got the first edition out. It was much celebrated. I took it to different organizations and said, wow, Shirley, this is beautiful. For the first time, we're actually having something that we can call our own. Then what happened next? Because of the fact that I'm a woman, so many came to me to tell me, in fact, even colleagues like myself, other journalists came to say, Shirley, why should it be you doing this? And I was asking them, what do you mean by that? And they came to say, well, we've been in this industry for many years. We never even thought about this. Why will it be you? I said, why will it not be me? This is what God has given me to do. So I have to do it. And that was where enmity started. And then in the industry as well, because I do not have money enough to do it the way they felt. And then because I'm a woman, some were telling me there are other men that started and stopped. So what is the special thing that you're trying to bring to us? So I faced that level of rejection again and again. In fact, it was threatening enough to tell me, stop. But I never stopped. I kept coming out. I kept coming out monthly with the magazine. And thankfully, my husband is in the printing and graphics industry. So God had planned it so beautifully well that while they thought that I would stop, in this publishing industry, if you don't have a good graphic designer, you're in a mess because they will mess you up. But I had mine right at home.
Right.
I also had mine right at home that will do the printing for me, even when I don't have any money on my own. So that alone was a good path for me because I decided to run with it. And the world, the society, the sector, people around me, friends I thought I could turn to, were there to tell me no. But I listened to God that is saying, this is what I want you to do. So I pulled my strength until tomorrow, till the end of time. I pull my strength from this God that has called me to do what he has called me to do. I shared again and again that I'm a person that takes, when you listen to the kind of risk that I take, you'll be asking yourself, Shirley, why did you have to do that? Yes, because that is what God asked me to do. And you will see that in the eyes of men, it is looking like, no, this cannot be possible. But at the end of the day, come and share this. Come and see the story. Come and see the outcome. Beautiful success. Because I have a backing of a God that sees the end from the beginning, of a God that sees the beginning from the end. And I tap my source. I tap my strength from this God. Without him, nobody, I say it again and again, and people to hear this, you cannot do destiny. This destiny, the destiny that God has given to you in this life, the world that you're living, you cannot do it without God. No matter what you believe, you feel, you are applying to, you cannot do life without God because he is the source, he is the strength, he is the breath that you are breathing. He's everything. If you decide to pause it, you are gone. So we must always get ourselves in tune with the will of God for you to succeed. If not, you will just be running, trying to please men, trying to do what men say, the way men say it should be done. You will get disappointed. And at the end of the day, if you're also trying to live the way men say you should live, because of course, as a woman, the man will say no, or men will say, I'm not trying to say man, I'm trying to say that men, in quotes, will say, you cannot do it because you're a woman. You cannot do it because you're not as tall. You cannot do it because you're not as beautiful. You cannot do it because your accent. You cannot do it because you're not maybe slim enough. You're this of the big side. A lot of negativities, a lot of things, a lot of factors that they will come around with, policies that could stop you. But for me, and for those that are purpose-driven, those things, we don't see them. All we see is where we are going. And permit me to also share this. And I share this also, I think, on numerous platforms. See yourself as the driver of your vehicle of life. Because there is nobody, there is no driver that will ever enter into his or her vehicle having a destination in mind. For instance, I'm going to, where am I going now? I'm going to the mall to go pick up some things. And I enter into my vehicle. And I enter into my vehicle to go to get the things I want to get. Before I left home, mind you, I may not know if there may be traffic on the way. I may not know all of that. But all I know is I'm going to the mall. But on the way, there happened to be traffic. Unexpectedly. Will that stop me from going or from continuing on that journey? It won't stop me. All I will be trying to do on that journey is to ensure that I get to where I am going. Avoid other road users, avoid whatever noise, avoid whatever may want to stop me. Avoid anybody that want to, hit me from the back because I'm going somewhere. And my purpose and my mission and my everything is about where I'm going. In fact, I want to rush up and get it before the mall will close. So my main aim, my purpose, my everything is on where I'm going. So that is how life should be run. You have a mission, you have a purpose, run with it. Your eyes should be fixed on the destination, not on the things that you will meet on the way, which are the challenges, which are all the things that people will say, you cannot do, you cannot do this, cannot do that. Tell them, I know where I'm going and I'm getting there. And once you're that fixed to getting to where you're going, nothing and nobody is going to stop you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Shirley, I love it. I love it. It's so beautiful to hear you say that, because I know that when, first of all, and what you just said was so powerful. So powerful. When God wants us to grow, he puts something in our heart. And for me, it's like the heart's desire. God tells us, okay, this is where I want you to be. So the heart desire outruns any fears that you have. And the way that I always look at it and kind of say it is, dream a beautiful dream or you will be dreamt. Which means that if you don't hold the vision for yourself, for life to become a walk to that vision, then you will end up being dreamt, which means that you will end up doing what everybody else thinks you should do, and you will never get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because what other people see you doing will never be where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And so to not allow people to deter from you what you saw yourself doing and where you saw you needed to be and what was the driving force behind where you needed to be is like what you did, which is like a fish going upstream, right? Everything's going downhill and they're like, why aren't you going down? Why aren't you going down? And you're the only single source going upstream. And you're like, I don't care what you say. Oh, you're a fool going that way. You're going to die. You're going to anything to deter you. And why is it that our relationships can't support our dreams and say, you know what? I don't see how you're going to do it, but I support you. I'm there for you. I'm happy for you. I know you can do this. And these are the factors that we need to change.
Yeah, I believe that for when you face situations like that, where you feel that relationships, people around you don't support what you're doing, number one is jealousy. Number two is envy. I can dwell on this matter for as long as possible. Like I tell people, when you when you fail to discover your purpose, that is when you will dwell on other people's matters. That is when you begin to get busy, getting angry, getting beefed up, getting jealous, getting, your temperature, everything will be rising. When you see others rise, when you see others that have, taken time out to seek what it is that they came here to do. Because you begin to look at yourself like, oh, I think I'm even better than that person. Why is it going well for her? Why is it going well for him? It can also go as well as you want to for yourself, because God has already put it in on the inside. God did not create us into this world for us to come and live a managed life, to come and be sitting on the edge and be looking at others. He has created us here for us to be busy, impacting, transforming lives. Every one of us. There is no one that God has created without a purpose.
That's right.
But so many of us, because of family, whatever, mindset of our family, what they believe, what they think should happen, and how it should not happen, they kind of cage us. Cage some people, not myself and you, of course, and so many others. Cage some people, making them believe, no, If you see somebody that is successful, maybe they have done something, extraordinary, they have done something that is different from what you're doing. Maybe somebody, they'll come up with a lot of tests around it to make them comfortable to remain in that place of defeat, that place of no, it cannot be better than me, it cannot be better for me, because I am from this family. In fact, I met somebody that told me, as at that time he was in his 50s, he was doing well, he had money, and he was living in a rented apartment. As at that time, he had a lot of money that came in for him, and myself and some others were like, oh wow, with this money that has come in, you build your house, that kind of thing, get a house or buy a house or something like that. He said, no, why will I do that at this age? And we're surprised at his response. So what do you mean by that? So no, my elder brother is now in his 60s that is building a house in his 60s. So in my family, we don't rush. We don't do that. We don't even try to say we want to own a house, want to own this at our early age. No, this is an early age. That's a mindset. That's a brainwash from the devil. Who even tells you that you will live up to that age? So why don't you do what God has given you opportunity to do in the now? So everything, all of these things has to do with a mindset, a brainwash, a kind of bondage that people has been placed, and making them to believe that when you see others that are more successful in what they have been called to do, that means your place was just, just sit down and feel that God did not do well. God did not create you well. That's why you are where you are. God has created you well. It is you that has decided to stay where you want to be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to point out a couple of powerful things that you said. First of all, you said accepting the totality of yourself. And I can't express how important this is, because that's it. When we can look ourselves in the mirror, and no matter what you see, love what you see. Love what you see. Love what you have been blessed with. Good, bad, and different, doesn't matter. Then you have the foundation to build on. But if you look in the mirror and you say, oh, I like this about myself, but I don't like this, and I hate this, and I hate that, and blah, 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 that is a factor. That is a problem. That is the building of the house on a foundation of sand.
Yes.
That's it. Right then and right there. And then the second thing that you said, which is really, really important, is that everybody should know their purpose. And I've always been told that God has put us here for one, at least, solid purpose for every single one of us, which is to hold our light. To hold our light. Mm-hmm. At minimum, be a good person. Be a person that can function, that does well, that has integrity, that can just maneuver through life mm-hmm. in a positive way. At minimum. Let alone the additional gifts that will be bestowed upon you, that will come through you because you hold your light. Sure. So when people go, oh, I don't know my purpose. Well, your first purpose is to be a good person. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, be a kind, decent human being. And then allow it to grow from there by opening your heart, not your head, your heart, not what you can manipulate, but what's stemming from your heart that compels you so strongly that you can't hold it back. That's when you know it's coming from your heart. Because when it's coming from your heart, you're going to go through the adversity, you're going to go through the fear, you're going to navigate through all of it because you are so compelled to do what you need to do and to accomplish what you need to accomplish, that you're not going to let anything or anyone get in the way. And I really felt it was important to highlight those things of what you said so that people could really understand and drive home the foundation you just shared, which is invaluable. Because that's it. It doesn't have to be any more than that. You know, we're looking for this grandiose thing, and that's it. And the other key thing that I want to highlight that you said was to look inside yourself. Nothing that you said was outside of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't validation outside of yourself. It wasn't validation from this person or that person or this situation or that situation. It's always been looking inward and having that conversation inward, answering that answer, getting that answer to that question from inward and not external to ourselves. And these are such important factors. It's not what somebody else, you know, felt or judged or I don't know, perceived. You know, it's what you felt compelled and what you knew to be true in your heart and what we know to be true in our hearts. So I know we're coming up on an hour. I could talk. We could talk.
Yes.
What would you say to that person out there that's listening to this and is just finally grasping where the true strength and calling is coming from? What would you say to them? What are the last words you would like to leave with them?
Ooh. I would say embrace a mindset shift. Instead of viewing challenges as roadblocks, I believe you must have heard this again and again. See them as opportunities for learning and for growth. Because each challenge that comes your way comes with a lesson for where you are going to. There are lessons to be learned in that thing that you may be going through in the now that will help prepare you ahead of what is coming. So many times we try to languish in whatever it is that we are going through, believing that that's our end, or wow, I will never come out of this. You know, why did this happen to me? It happened to you because God wants you to be empowered for what is coming. The life that we are living in, you can never do away with challenges. It is inevitable. So in as much as you know that challenges of life are inevitable, you were built with it. So the best approach is for you to see how you can live, survive, thrive through it and conquer. Because you definitely conquer when you are resilient, when you are determined to succeed and to tell the challenges, you can't break me. Instead, you're going to make me the better person that God wants me to become. I also want to leave you with these words. No matter what it takes, do not allow anybody to stop you from becoming who God has created you to become. So many times, people around you may not like what God has given to you to do, the dream. I tell people, dream big. In fact, until the size of your dream is threatening to you yourself, then you have not started. I look at myself sometimes, I see what is coming, and I tell myself, you know, sometimes I'll tell myself, oh God, Shirley, how is this gonna happen? And I then look back and say, yes, God, I know you're behind me, and it's gonna happen. And that is it. When once you have that positive mindset towards life generally, towards everything in life, be positive. Do not see the end, you know, as if your life has come to an end with whatever is going on. See God in the making. Every day, every second, every hour of your life. See him as the only one that will make everything happen. For what he cannot do doesn't exist. There's nothing he cannot do in your life, through your life. He has made you the light. Be intentional about shining that light. Do not be the one that will tear somebody's life down. Do not be the one, do not be caught trying to destroy other people's life, because you cannot make that life. Instead, if you don't have something tangible to say, just keep quiet and let it pass. Like Enolia has rightly mentioned, your purpose first and foremost is to be a good person. Are you good to your neighbor? Are you good to the person close to you? Are you even good to yourself? Because if you're good to yourself, you'll be thinking about how to build you, how to empower you, how to become the best you, and not to be looking at another person, how that person is more beautiful, more wonderful, doing more than you. You have everything it takes to be the best because you are the best. You have been chosen. You need to acknowledge that. I have been chosen on this earth to do what I am doing. If I'm not chosen, I won't be doing what I'm doing. So you need to discover that about yourself and begin to run with God, what God has given to you to do. And know that the life that you're living, you cannot do life without God. You cannot do destiny without God. Without him, nothing works. So I'll leave you with these words finally. Discover you, be you, do you, and be happy. Thank you. Enolia.
Oh, Shirley, thank you so, so much. So I hope you heard that. We did not come here to play small. We are grand. We are grand in who we are and what we bring. Shirley, how can people get in contact with you? How can people find your magazine? Please share your contact information, the publications that you do, how people can get a hold of your books before you go. This is so important. And what I'll do is I'll make sure I grab that from you to also put in the description here, but please do share.
All right, thank you once again, Enolia. I've really enjoyed my time here on the show. Yes, you can contact me on the social media, Facebook at Shirley Murphy, at Instagram at Shirley Murphy, on the LinkedIn on the Shirley Murphy as well. And then my magazine is on the website is www.GLEBM, laboreventsmagazine.com. laboreventsmagazine.com, www.laboreventsmagazine.com. And I have some books on Amazon, 5 Steps to Purpose Actualization. I also have the Empowered Me 1 and 2, The Power of Praise. I have also, I just also added on Amazon a book on parenting, because of course this is also a part of what I do, family life. So I also have The Ideal Parent on the Amazon that was just added. And I have a series of other books coming. I have a daily devotional that is coming, in the month of March 2024. I'm actually calling for co-authors on that. If you have inspirational messages that could help people run through life on a daily basis, you are welcome to join us on this anthology to produce a daily devotional, a 90 days daily devotional for people. And then as the global president, World Humanitarian Leaders Movement, you can also see us also on Facebook and on Instagram and also on LinkedIn. We are using this platform to call humanitarians around the world and said, together we can actually make this world a much more better place for our children and of course for people, leaders that are looking up to us. And the best approach is for us to collaborate. The best approach is for us to unite together and share our resources, share ideas on how best to bring hope, to share light, in this world. And of course, you are welcome at any time, and you can also reach me, send me an email at shirleymurphy07@gmail.com. And anytime, I am here. Thank you so very much, Enolia.
You're welcome. Shirley, I think you missed one. What about the She Academy?
Oh, sometimes, all of this. Okay, thank you so much once again for reminding me that we also have, through the Women Reach Out with God initiative, a nonprofit organization, we came up because our core is on education and counseling. So we birthed the She Rise Academy. The She Rise Academy is a platform for women and girls around the world to step up, to be empowered. There are a lot of courses that are on the platform that could help you. We have women leading in leadership. We have a lot of courses that are on the platform that could help you, prepare you to become the best you. Don't be angry for our men folks. That is only women who, because this is our primary industry, our primary assignment that we've been given to do, and that's why we're only focused on women. So women and girls on the She Rise Academy. And if you want to be a part, to learn a certain skill, to empower yourself, to get the motivation and inspiration you need to move to the next phase of your life, you can sign up with us, sheriseacademy.org. You can get us there and then make your choice. We have a course on health, healthy living, parenting, different vocational trainings, and different leadership courses that could help you move you to the next phase of your life. So thank you once again, and earlier, for allowing me to, chip that in.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been another episode of The Infinite Way with a powerful conversation with Shirley Murphy, entrepreneur, publisher, author, businesswoman, a blessing to all of our lives. We thank you so much for joining us, and her contact information will be below. Thank you, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.